Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Stand Up Speakeasy. I'm your host, Sreth, and every single episode of the Stand Up Speakeasy, I bring on a comic from all over the U.S. and we talk about their comedy journey so far. With this special show is that we got selected to perform at the Mobile Comedy Festival happening all this week, and tickets are located on the bottom with the link below. So come buy the ticket and come see us this week for 1 week only, and performing on one of the shows with on the Mobile Comedy Festival is Jacob Craig. Welcome to the show, Jacob. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I'm feeling great.
Fantastic, awesome stuff. And I'm looking forward to diving into your stand-up comedy journey. And without further ado, you started performing stand-up your entire adult life. What age did you start, and along the Mississippi Gulf Coast?
Yeah, so I started in Mississippi. It's where I was born and raised. My first show was in Biloxi. It was actually a music show, and the person that was producing it decided that he wanted to try doing some comedy. And I had never done comedy before, but my older brother's a musician. So he said, well, my little brother writes jokes, all this, blah, blah, blah. And so I actually got booked to do 10 minutes on my first gig in 2017 when I was 17 years old. So it was even before I was an adult. So I had to sneak into this bar and do 10 minutes of comedy at a music show in Biloxi, Mississippi, at a bar that's now shut down. So that's really where it all started. And I've been writing jokes since I was like 14, something like that. So
Awesome. So you were meant to be a comic then.
yeah, I've kind of known my whole life that I really like making people laugh, and whether it's selfish or not, I like the feeling it gives me when I make people laugh too.
Absolutely. Same here. And so you're also a podcaster and you host open micers, and got you won the Hollywood Digest's 2020's most comedic podcast on earth. And what was that feeling like when you won that award?
It was so surprising actually, like because I always have this thought in my head that like we're putting out this content every week for nobody to listen to, because my co-host is the one who does all of the technical aspects. So I book guests and I do the kind of, personality interview type stuff, and Jason, my co-host, does all the technical, all the releasing. He sees the numbers. So I'm always like, well, we're just going to put out this episode and no one's going to listen to it. And so we get an email. It's like, hey, you were selected. Here's the article already written up. We gave you this award. You're nominated, or you were in the running next to people like the Joe Rogan Experience. And I was like, I don't understand how we beat the Joe Rogan Experience in getting a award for comedy, but it's just a crazy feeling. I couldn't believe it for like a week.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And you've had some heavy hitters on, and Brian O'Halloran and Jenny Zagrino and all that good stuff. How do you bring all these comics on board with you?
Well, it's a lot of luck. It's mainly luck. My co-host Jason, who I mentioned, he actually wrote a movie that Brian O'Halloran starred in. So they're actually buddies, so they know each other. I opened for Jenny Zagrino in Mobile, so that's how I was able to get her on. And mostly just I see who's coming to our area, and I look at their website, and if there's a way for me to contact them directly, like Sean Patton, Dave Hill, all these guys, I was able to just shoot them an email, and they're either going to say yes or no, and they happen to say yes. So yeah, I lucked out basically.
Heck yeah, that's the way to do it. And what are some of your favorite memories from those three interviews and more?
Man, well I remember when I usually don't get nervous interviewing people because I've been doing that longer than I've been doing comedy. My background's actually in writing and interviewing, so I usually don't get nervous. But when we interviewed Sean Patton, I was so nervous because I've been such a Sean Patton fan for so long. He's one of those guys that's not nearly as famous as he should be, and he's just such a killer. And he came in the room, and I remember I called him Mr. Patton, and he stopped me. He's like, "Hey, you call me Sean, or I will leave right now." Like, he is the nicest guy one of the nicest people I've ever met, and I went to his show just as a fan to hang out with him, and he remembered me and remembered my face and name and everything, and yeah, it was really fun to just kind of geek out over interviewing essentially one of my comedy heroes on a show I never thought would last as long as it's lasted.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, it's really like I majored in mass comm, so I started interviewing bands first and musicians, and then I slowly made my way to comedy, and it's just like it's just so much fun. Like
Mm-hmm.
I love interviewing comics and getting inside their heads and seeing how their brains work. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Most definitely. So your signature style is loudmouth southern delivery with a punk rock state of mind. And how did that how did you find your voice in stand up?
Well, it was really hard because I started doing stand up before I really knew who I was as a person. Because I mean, I started as a 17-year-old kid. I with no life experience, so I knew immediately that I had to be a joke writer, like because I have no stories. So I have to be a joke writer. I have to understand the science behind the setup, the punch, all of that stuff. And then I just noticed that I'd find myself whenever I'm performing I would get so much into it that at the end, I'm not even really using the microphone because I just have so much energy and I'm so into this performance that my microphone's down by my chest and I'm not even using it and I'm just yelling at the audience. And if I'm doing well, then they're eating it up. And if I'm bombing, then I'm essentially doing the Patrice O'Neill style of being like, no, you're wrong and I'm right. And I'm going to make you enjoy it. And, uh, and I've just always been into punk rock and punk rock music and just the kind of I've always had that identity of like I really don't care what anyone thinks about me. It's like I'm gonna do my thing and that's it. I'm gonna be myself. And that's all punk rock is just about being yourself and not really caring what anyone else thinks about you. So when I bomb or whatever, it's I feel bad because I didn't make anyone laugh. I'm never, you know, like, oh, I'm worried about what these people think. It's, that kind of thing.
Indeed, bombing hurts at that moment, but then when you leave and you look back, it's some of the best stories that ever come out of stand up. So
Yeah, you never, no one wants to hear a story about a show going so well, awesome, mediocre. It's like, no, tell me about the worst time you've ever had.
absolutely, indeed. And my buddies grow like I've been at stand up for 6 years consistently, and the nicknames that I got growing, finding my voice was the poet laureate of Pornhub and the cleanest, dirtiest comic in Daytona Beach. So,
Those are great nicknames. I wish someone would give me a good nickname.
for sure, indeed. Yeah, I found myself by not saying any curse words, but just getting really down and dirty and detailed,
Yeah.
and that's the way my mind works on stage, I guess. So, and you described it as Waffle House if it became a person, and that got me. And because there's so many Waffle Houses in Florida, and
Yeah.
sometimes since there's most of them open 24 hours, we just go there and eat and just. So how did that come about?
Well, I don't know. That's just a tag that I've kind of started using to describe myself because I actually had that in a joke that I used to do, or I say I'm like a Waffle House if it became a person. And I realized it was kind of better for a bio because it really does describe me because because I mean I embrace like the trailer trash kind of aspect of my life. Like I've lived in a trailer for 21 years. My uncles are all drug addicts. I grew up down the street from a meth lab. So it's like that's the kind of thing that you expect in a Waffle House. like you expect a fight to break out at almost any point in a Waffle House. And if you're hanging out with me, there's a chance that a fight might break out at any moment. So it's yeah, it fits.
Indeed, I could always go for some Waffle House, and when they
Oh, me
put
too.
on just some good late night hangs with the comics, I guess. And but we have a Wawa close to my homeroom, so sometimes I just try to get people to go there, but I just go by myself for the mac and cheese and subs.
Yeah, yeah.
Indeed. So we're raising funds for Frets for Pets. And what did you choose those fine folks to raise funds for with this episode?
So let's see. Today we're recording on Sunday. So last night, actually, I well today's Monday. So 2 days ago on Saturday, I actually performed at Frets for Pets. So what Frets for Pets is, it's a annual music festival, and they do comedy sometimes. Just anyone who wants to kind of help out and donate their time to raising money for animal shelters local to where I am. So that's going to be the Mississippi Gulf Coast. So 100% of the proceeds go to helping these animals, these animal shelters, help cats and dogs and whatever else get adopted, help feed them. Essentially, we want to prevent these animals from getting put down and find them a home to stay in. So, yeah, you can go to friendsforpets.com to just donate directly. And the festival's over this year, but next year there's going to be another Frets for Pets festival where you can donate raffle prizes, buy a ticket to see all this awesome live music, or if you want to donate your time, no one gets paid because it's for charity. But if you want to donate your time, you want to donate your art to helping out these animals, then yeah, everyone would be very appreciative of that.
Indeed, that's a cool name for a festival too. Frets for Pets. I like it. Indeed. So, what are you looking forward to the most at the Mobile Comedy Festival that's coming up?
Let's see. Breaking news. Well, I'm supposed to announce this today. I'm very bad at what I do. We're actually going to be interviewing Sean Finnerty on my podcast, who is like the headliner of the festival since Todd Barry had to pull out. So I'm very excited to be able to get to talk to him. And the night that I'm in the competition, Sean is headlining at earlier that night. So I think I'm going to pop over there and see his show and then go to my show. So I'm actually very excited to see Sean Finnerty perform and do his thing, because it's not often that I get to just be a fan producing and performing down here on the coast. So I'm excited to go be a fan and just do my best during the competition and hopefully get to the finals. But if not, I just want to have fun and kind of meet everyone that I don't actually know, and just kind of make new friends.
Indeed, I had no idea Todd had to pull out, but I got to interview Sean for my channel too, and he's such a great guy, and
I
you'll love
saw
him.
that. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was doing research for him, and I saw that you interviewed him way before the Tonight Show appearance. So,
yeah.
congratulations on that.
Thank you. It was like before he was famous, so it's like
Yeah.
so nice. Awesome, good stuff. And so, for this part, Jacob is which are the same questions they when you read Sean with and all the other comics that are on there. So, with that being said, Jacob, what did inspire you to perform stand up comedy?
Man, I've always kind of known that I wanted to be a stand up. I think it mainly came from my parents, because I grew up kind of sheltered, but my dad loved George Carlin so much that at like 6 or 7 years old, he let me watch a George Carlin special. And of course, George Carlin doesn't pull any punches. So I'm hearing all of this like crazy stuff for the first time. Like, oh my God, I didn't know these words existed. And I just kind of fell in love with the fact that this is even an industry. Like, people are like want to all see this one guy just put himself out there and do what he loves to make you laugh. So I kind of knew from an earlier age. And on my 12th birthday, my parents let me watch a Kings of Comedy DVD. So I was able to watch D.L. Hughley, Steve Harvey, Bernie Mac, um, someone else that I'm missing, but all those guys. And I was like, that was the point where I was like, yeah, like I think I could totally do this.
Indeed, and Cedric the Entertainer was the last one.
Yes, Cedric. Oh, I can't believe it. Cedric the Entertainer was actually my favorite at that time too when I watched the DVD. I can't believe I forgot about
It's all good. We caught him, so it's all
it.
good. So, what was it feeling like when you first performed stand up?
It was very nerve wracking. There, there was actually a good bit of people there because it was a concert. So around here, no one. Well, there's a little dedicated comedy scene, but the music scene in Mississippi is where everyone goes. So there's a lot of people here expecting the music, and then I'm the first act of the night. Never done comedy before. I'm doing 10 minutes, which is crazy for someone to debut with 10 minutes. Like, you want to do 5. And so I get up there and I have these notes on a piece of paper and I have notes on my hand, and I'm just trying to just see what this feeling is like. And luckily, everyone was kind of on my side a little bit. So the crowd wanted me to do well. So I wasn't exactly bombing, but about halfway through my set, I just drew a blank and I just stood there for what felt like 5 whole minutes. It was probably like 30 seconds, but I just completely forgot and I was rambling. And then it finally snapped to me and I got to my last joke and ended the set. And it was like a scene from a movie. It's like the underdog finally pulls it out and everyone's like, oh, I can't believe it. So it was a good feeling, even though there's no video from it. I'm sure if I watched a video back, I'd be like, oh, that's horrible. But in the moment, it felt nice.
Indeed, that's good stuff. And man, it's so true what you say. It's like, those 30 seconds does feel like 5 minutes on stage. Oh man, it's brutal, but good times indeed. And I'm glad that you were able to blossom from all that stuff. So
I tried.
indeed. And so you spoke of George Carlin earlier, and I want to know he's released some stuff out, like specials and records, and I want to know your favorite sitcom sketches or comedy specials and comedy record albums are.
Oh, favorite sitcom specials. Let's see. My favorite sitcom is still My Name Is Earl, because I watch My Name Is Earl, and that's like my life that I live. Because South Mississippi is what you see in My Name Is Earl. So I would come home from school and I'd sit down and I'd watch My Name Is Earl and I'd be like, yeah, that's what's outside, and I'd be able to relate to it. And My Name Is Earl actually gave me the talk. I learned about sex from My Name Is Earl, so that was always fun. And my favorite comedy special, that's a little harder. I can't say that it's a Carlin special, because yeah, Carlin's one of the best, but he's not exactly one of my favorites. You know what I mean? He just has influenced me a lot. Um, I would have to say maybe I'll just the most recent one that I watched that I enjoyed was Tom Segura's Ball Hog on Netflix. So I'll say that one because that's the only one that really sticks out in my mind right now.
Okay, and favorite sketch shows.
Oh, favorite sketch shows? Not Saturday Night Live, because they steal jokes from people, and that's horrible of them. Let's see. Shout out to Whitest Kids You Know. Trevor Moore just died recently, and that's such a tragedy. I had his song "What About Mouthwash" stuck in my head ever since I learned about his passing. And yeah, in like early 2012 when they were big, that was a great sketch show. And of course, Key and Peele is extremely underrated. Key and Peele had some of the best sketches that never really, they all caught on, but no one ever puts them in the conversation of like they're the best, because everyone just assumes, oh, Chappelle's show is the best. It's like, yeah, well, Chappelle's show kind of had like middle school humor in it. It was very blue, lowbrow, and then you turn on Key and Peele, and it's just all such well-written sketches. There's no holes in them. It's just they're all goofy, and anyone from any walk of life can enjoy them. So yeah, I would say Key and Peele.
Indeed, and so true. With Trevor Moore and White Kids, and I got to like Timmy Williams rolled through Jacksonville like a couple years ago or something like that, and I got to interview him, and so it's on the YouTube channel. But he's a really cool guy, and
Yeah.
it's a sad moment in comedy for losing someone like that, but uh, man, and they were like I guess they were in post production of their new flick too, so.
Yeah, they hopefully it'll come out fairly soon. So you know, have he has his magnum opus.
Absolutely, indeed. And your favorite comedy films?
Ooh, so I'm a huge John Candy fan. I love Uncle Buck. I love Spaceballs, and huge Mel Brooks fan too. I love Blazing Saddles. It's hilarious. Um, and John Belushi is a big one for me too. So I would say Blues Brothers is because my nickname growing up was Juliet Jake, based off of John Belushi's character in Blues Brothers, because I've always just been kind of wild, and I've always been kind of a pudgy guy. So yeah, everyone called me Joliet Jake growing up. So I really like Blues Brothers, and have to throw a Chris Farley one in there too. So let's say Tommy Boy.
Absolutely, that's my favorite comedy flick of all time because I related to Chris Farley so much in that movie. Like it took me 7 years to finish college. Got a D in my final semester. I worked for my parents, and it's just all those things just lined up. And had a best friend at the time, and
Yeah,
it's just so many things just so similar. No Bo Derek as a stepmom though, but that's
man,
why.
I wish, huh?
Indeed. Holy shnikes. But indeed. And if you can go on tour with any comedian, which one would you choose, locally and internationally known?
Oh, if I could go on tour with any comedian locally, it would be my buddy Craig Williams from Mobile, because he's very new to comedy. He's only been doing it like 9, 10 months, something like that. But he's I will admit that he is already funnier than me. Like, he is one of the funniest, most genius people I've ever met in my entire life. And we've never actually gotten to tour together yet. I tried to put together some stuff for us to go on tour. It didn't pan out. So I'd really love to go on tour with him. And whenever we perform together, I always try to like butt heads with him a little bit to try to see like who's going to be funnier tonight, because it's just always such a competition, and it makes both of us better. And famous, I would say I would love to open for Tom Segura. Like, he's my favorite comedian of all time. And I've even like written jokes. Like, there was a joke in Ball Hog. Tom Segura did this joke about whenever someone asks you how you're doing, like the only response that's available is, yeah, I'm fine. Like, no one wants to actually hear how you're doing. I had a joke that was like that, almost word for word, in my notebook that I had to cross out because Tom Segura's Ball Hog came out, and I was like, holy shit, that's one of my jokes. And like, we're just that similar of comedians. So I'd love to work with Tom Segura.
Indeed. That's like one of the most heartbreaking things is like having another,
Right.
like a famous comic tell your joke on stage. It's like, oh man, that's why I don't watch stand-up comedy specials or listen to comedy albums. I'm just like, I'll just listen to comedy podcasts because at least
Right.
I'll feel comfortable listening to those.
Well, I'm
Um,
glad I did before I got called out on it.
oh, for sure, indeed, most definitely. And man, I went on tour once, and that's like, setting up a DIY tour is like tough, and
Oh
I
yeah.
did, but I fortunately, like, the stars aligned, and I got like 14 performances in 10 days. Saved up $400, went on tour, and came back home with $40 in my pocket, and it was just comedy doesn't pay, especially on the like, on this
Nope.
local level that we're on.
I
So
just got off tour in New Orleans and I lost money on it. It's anytime you go on tour, you're probably gonna lose money.
indeed, and it's not so much about the money, but it's all about the memories, and it
Right.
makes it all worth it. So indeed, and so if you can get roasted by five comedians, past and present, which comedians would you like to go on tour with?
If I could get roasted by 5 comedians, um, let's see, dead or alive, I would have to go with Greg Giraldo, because he's the greatest roaster of all time, and I will stand by that. Patrice O'Neill, because he's such a genius and he's a great roaster. Bill Burr is really great at roasting people, just kind of casually. Um, let's see, who else would be a good roaster? I would say, well, Eric Bergstrom. I actually know Eric, and he was in the Roastmaster series at the Stand, New York City. So, yeah, with that personal connection, I'd love for him to roast me. And Sean Finnerty was on that as well. So let's go ahead and just say Sean Finnerty. I don't know him yet, but I will know him soon.
Indeed, most definitely, and excellent choices, by the way. I love Greg's joke on the Comedy Central roasters when he was on them, and gosh, he was such a brilliant mind. And let's see here. If you can, where do you see your comedy journey in the next 5 years?
Let's see, the next 5 years, I will be, let's see, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I'll be 9 years into comedy in the next 5 years. And they say that things start to kind of happen, if they're going to happen for you, around 10 years in. So hopefully I'll be at a point to where I can tour the country nationally. Uh, Hopefully that'll be my job. Hopefully I'll be able to make a living off of that. And if not, then I'm happy to just stay here locally and try to produce my shows and book upcoming comics and just try to give back to the people who are going to be able to branch out and make it if I'm not able to. And yeah, just kind of bring big people down to where I am if I'm not going to be able to branch out.
Indeed, excellent answer for sure. And um, I'm coming up on 10 years myself, and as I'm like, well, I got 4 more years to go, but I'm kind of like want to pull the plug at 40 and just like settle down. So it's been
Yeah.
it's been a fun ride so far. Let's see here, and which other forms of comedy would you venture off into, Jacob? Like comedy, like sketch writing, improv, directing, acting, etc.
Yeah, so I actually have a pending audition that I need to do for a short film. So I'd love to get into acting. I just need to get some acting credits under my belt and actually kind of go for that. And like I said, my background's in writing and interviewing, so I'd love to be in a writer's room with somebody for a late night talk show or for a sitcom or a sketch show or something like that. Because that's where my roots are. I was doing that stuff at 14. Writing articles, interviewing people. So yeah, I would love to just write for TV and maybe dip my toes into acting a little bit.
Most definitely. Indeed. And what experience would you like your audience to take with them after your set is over?
Um, so I would like people who see me to have the experience of, I know I'm not supposed to be laughing at this, but I can't help it because it's so funny. And I people have gotten that experience from me before. They'll say like, "Hey, that joke was really messed up. That's not something normal people say." But I still laughed at it because it's so funny that you can't not laugh at it. So that's kind of the impression that I want to make onto my audience is, letting people know, like, you don't have to be so uptight. It's all just a joke. So what if it's a messed up joke? If you laugh at it, it's fine. It's fine.
Most definitely. Indeed. And I love getting the reactions that are not just laughs, but like moans and groans and like people being like, and just being able to picture that in their heads and
Those are my
being
favorite for sure.
indeed. Most definitely. And Jacob, what's your favorite joke a comic has written?
Okay, so my favorite joke a comic has written. I haven't cleared this with him, so I hope it's okay that I say it. But there's a comic in New Orleans he's not famous. He goes by the stage name Pickle, and Pickle has this joke where he says, "I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I'm a felon." And that joke has never bombed. It is one of the most simple, well written, well thought out jokes I've ever heard. And every time I hear it, I'm like, yeah, that's the perfect one liner to start your set with. So yeah, I love that joke that he does.
Absolutely. Indeed. That's hilarious. I dig it. And I love how it's like, he tried to, lead you into thinking political and then you just like, you know, not really. It's good stuff.
Right.
And like, those political jokes just divide a room. And I'm just so happy. Like, he just like grabs them by the horns and just, the audience is mine, like off the bat. It's awesome. And so, Jacob, uh, for this next part is like who you'd like to see on the next episodes of the Stamp Speakeasy, and I'll reach out to him if if there haven't been a guest already. And I've reached out to most of the comics in Alabama. But without further ado, which comics would you like to see on the future episodes of the Stand Up Speakeasy?
So, as aforementioned, Craig Williams, the funniest person I've ever met in my entire life, Mobile guy, definitely Craig Williams. Jason Robbins, who I co-host my podcast with, great comic, nationally recognized musician. I'm sure that you two would love to talk about that. I know you're into music. Duncan Stone Street, he's an open micer on my scene who I got into comedy. One of the funniest dudes to hang out with. He's only been doing it a couple months. Love to see him come on the show. And you know what, man? Just try contacting Dave Hill. You can contact him directly. I'd love to see Dave Hill come on here and talk. And freaking Sean Patton, dude. I know those guys are great guys. They're always, want to do a podcast. And yeah, I'll suggest those guys for you. Get those numbers up, man. Talk to Dave Hill and Sean Patton, bro.
Most definitely, indeed. I'll definitely reach out to all those fine comics and see if I can get them all on the show. And so, as a friendly reminder at home, please follow Open Micers podcast and like them, subscribe to them. Visit their website. It's all scrolling on the bottom. It's in the description box below. Donate to Frets for Pets. Donate to Jacob with his Cash App and Venmo scrolling on the bottom there. And also purchase tickets to the Mobile Comedy Festival happening all week long to see us perform and cheer us on during the competitions and all that good stuff. And without further ado, are there any final words you'd like to give out to the audience at home, Jacob?
Yeah, just what you said, man. Listen to Open Micers podcast, please. If you ever want to contact me for any reason, I'm very readily available. You can just, DM me or wherever. And yeah, come to a show. I would love to be able to make you laugh. That's the only reason I'm on this planet, to be able to make you laugh. So yeah, come on out.
Absolutely, indeed. And so, for everyone at home, thank you so much for tuning in and watching this later on my YouTube channel or my website, wherever you watch this. And and thank you so much. And be safe, take care of each other, and we'll see you at the next show. Thank you, and thank you, Jacob. You rock.
Thanks, man.